Hello and welcome back to r/Pettyrevenge for all your stories of small victories over those who have wronged you. Our first story today is from user Kate Shakes. This revenge is so petty. Throw back a decade, I was in sixth form, 16 to 18 years old for my American friends, and working at McDonalds on weekends for extra cash. At 10:30 AM we changed from breakfast menu to main menu, and there was typically a few minutes of blind panic when there was slightly longer wait for food. 10:20 AM, in comes this meathead who still looks half peed up from the previous night and orders 3 mayo chickens. I inform him that we will only be able to start cooking them at 10:30 as fryers are in use for breakfast items for another 10 minutes. He says okay, pays his £2.97 and waits at a table. Worth saying at this point it's a heaving Saturday morning, the first one after a payday. Not even 5 minutes later he comes up to me and says and shouts in a thick Scouse accent, "Oi! What you think you do and give him his food before mine? I've been waiting here way longer." I inform him that the customer had ordered off the breakfast menu, which we had ready to hand out. He looks peed off, but nods at me. 10:30 on the dot, when I told him the chicken would be put down, he barges past other customers in the queue and gets up in my face, almost shouting now. "Where the F are my mayo chickens? You're taking the pee now." I tell him his food is being cooked to stop swearing at me and that it'll be literally 2 minutes. He continues, "This isn't effing good enough. No wonder you work at McDonalds when you can't even cook a chicken burger." This sentence in Scouse was hilarious. I tell him to stop shouting and wait in line or I'll cancel his order and refuse service. He just says, "F's sake," and audibly mutters, "CUNT," under his breath. At this point, I see 3 mayo chickens come sliding down the chute, and I just leave them. I left them there for an extra 5 to 6 minutes, till I knew they'd go a bit lukewarm while I started serving another customer. He tried to kick off, but I think he soon realised the more he did so, the longer he'd be waiting. And that's it. My pettiest of petty revenge. From user Isaku. So a few years ago in my neighbourhood we had 2 kids, one in 5th grade and one in 2nd or 3rd grade, I can't remember. The 5th grader will be known as Jerk and his little brother will be Jerk's brother. He was not really a jerk. My friend will be friend and I will be I. Jerk really cared about Jerk's brother and protected him like he was everything. In our neighbourhood we had a little island of prairie. We live in Iowa and prairies are everywhere. That split the road into 2 and back again in the entrance to our neighbourhood. It had 2 trees and a sign with the name of our neighbourhood on it. We get boiling summers and freezing winters, and in the winter we get a lot of snow. The snow that year was in big pieces and a bit bigger than the size of a very old TV. After we got off our bus, we started walking and talking. While we were talking, Jerk took a chunk of snow, ran across the island and dumped it on my head. I was peed, but I kept talking with my friend. Then friend got dumped on, and I was even more peed. This continued for about 2 minutes. Then Jerk's brother got in on it, and that's when I was struck. My shoes, socks, pants and shirt was wet. I had no snow pants on, and I was done with this. Jerk's brother ran across the island with a chunk of snow and stopped on the sidewalk. He froze and dropped his chunk when he saw me making a ball of snow and packing it together with all of my might. For the people who are not familiar with snow, you might not know this, but when you do what I did, it creates a heavy ball of hardness and pain if it hits you. I am a great hitter, but the worst thrower to ever play baseball, so when I threw it, I missed. And hit him square in the freaking nuts. Luck had granted me a nut shot. Everyone's head turned. I saw the life drain from his face. I still think back to him dropping to his knees and covering his groin, and smile. I had a new problem now. His brother. He did what was basically a bull charge from Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Great game, and no, I'm not a 45-year-old. He tackled me and my friend had to pull away from his weak punches. He doesn't punch like Bald Bull, that's for sure. I bolstered to my driveway, caught my breath with friend in tow. We chatted for a second, and I walked inside and celebrated my victory against Jerk. Jerk is no longer a jerk and we get along. He moved away sadly and I miss him. He was fun when we got along. Also, I feel bad for Jerk's brother because he just followed Jerk's orders. Listen of this story. Don't make me cold, wet and peed at the same time. From Coherent Disco Panda. So I moved places a few months ago. I live in the top floor of a 5-story building, and the subject of my revenge lives on the 1st floor, directly below me. I rent the place, and according to the contract I cannot smoke in the house, not even on the balcony. I'm fine with it, so I drag my butt down to the street and smoke there. No biggie. It all started on my 3rd day in my new little home. I went down to smoke, and while enjoying my precious cancer stick, this old lady, BN as in bitchy neighbour, on the first floor's balcony, emerged. BN, excuse me, but I would like you to stop smoking in the toilet. Me, confused, why would I do that? BN, I don't know, but every night we wake up from cigarette smoke, and we would appreciate it if you would stop it. Me, I never smoke in the house, much less in the toilet. That's why I'm smoking right here. BN, I hope so. I never want it to happen again. Me, sure. And for a few days I thought nothing of it. She is probably retired, bored, whatever. I never smoked in the house, never will, and I tried being as nice as possible, not wanting to have fights with my neighbours on the first day. I even thought she might have smelled it because I was smoking in the door of the building, and her window was right above it, so I even crossed the street so I wouldn't be a problem later. And with it, I thought it's over. But approximately a week later she caught me while smoking. I won't write the conversation out. Pretty much she told me again to stop smoking in the toilet. I tried to reason with her, saying why would I come down and climb those monstrous stairs if I smoke in the house? And even if I smoked in the house, why would I do it in the toilet? Why not the balcony? And I also mentioned how could the smoke go all the way down to the first floor? I'm not 100% sure, but I believe the ventilation is made so air goes towards the top of the building. In the end, we were both pretty upset, and she said she will come knocking every time she smelled it. I was like, yeah, sure. Then a week later, she did come knocking, at 2 a.m, when I was sleeping. I was peed, sent her to hell, then shut the door. The very next day she did it again around the same time, and this continued for a few weeks, but not every day. So we come to the revenge part. Sorry the exposition took so long. My friend suggested a very good thing. What if I knock on her door every time I go smoking, just to ensure her that I don't smoke in the toilet? And I did exactly that. For 3 days straight, every single time I had the urge to smoke, which meant something like 5 to 6 cancer sticks. Outside of work hours, of course. I smoke much more at work. I can tell you, she was peed. She shouted, threatened me, but all I did was making sure there was no misunderstanding from either part. But well, all fun had to stop, and it stopped when she called the police on me. They were really understanding, but obviously not approved of my actions. But now there is no knocking on my door at any time. From Matthias, for the win. At the University of Iowa, there is a large fundraiser called Dance Marathon, where college students sponsor a child who had cancer and dance for 24 hours. The party can get fairly crazy, and the families who come to join the dancers can be pretty cool. However, last year I noticed a family who had 2 kids, one who looked to be about 10 and one about 5. The mum seemed a little self-centered from what I could tell, always budging through lines for her kids and such, but the dad was a whole nother story. He was very large and had a mildly inappropriate t-shirt that looked straight out of a strip club. He was constantly budging and pushing through the crowds, and he was constantly yelling at people for getting in his way or being too close to him. At one point, he sat at the table down 1 row from my family and saved the entire table, which was meant for the college students, for the 4 of them. He started hoarding all the food and candy for his kids. He even walked over to other tables and stole food. Later during the night, the junk food and such was really getting to my stomach, so I rushed to the bathroom. I opened the door, immediately hearing someone talking very loudly. I immediately recognised it as him. He had his phone on speaker, and I could tell that it was him calling about something to do with his insurance. From what I could hear, the person on the phone was being very polite and was taking their time. Meanwhile, this big douche was sitting on the toilet screaming at them. I then realised now was the time to take my revenge for everyone he had been inconveniencing. I let it rip. I had the longest, loudest poo I've ever had in a public restroom. The man started to get nervous, as the insurance person was asking for him to move somewhere private. I could hear how embarrassed he was. I then loudly groaned and said out loud, "They really need to put more air freshener in this bathroom." The man immediately said to the phone, "I'll call you back." But before he hung up, I flushed, washed my hands, and instead of using the paper towels, used 2 of the jet dryers for both my hands to make as much noise as possible. As I left the bathroom, I heard the ding from when you hang up a call, and I walked away with a smirk on my face. I have never felt so accomplished. I told a few of my fellow dancers, and they all thought it was hilarious, since they noticed him being rude too. I didn't see the man for the rest of the night. From user Theo Tima. This is a funny story my mum always likes to tell. Back in the year 1997, some days after my sister was born, my parents decided to visit my dad's hometown to show my grandparents their first grandchild coming from my dad. They were in love with the little girl. During the time my parents, were there, Mum and Grandpa were left alone in the house playing with my baby sister and talking to each other, and went like this. Mum, "She's so pretty, she looks like me." Grandpa, "Oh, don't worry about it, they grow out of it." This was obviously a joke, but my mother never forgot it. Then after 5 years I was born, and again my parents went to visit my dad's hometown, this time showing baby me, and my grandpa absolutely loved me, and said, "Oh my god, look at him, so handsome and he looks just like me." To which my mum, not losing the opportunity, replied, "Oh, don't worry, they grow out of it." They both laughed at it. My grandpa knew that it was exactly what he said to her 5 years before, and remarked on just how she returned a favour to him. Just a little harmless fun revenge from my mother. Hope everyone reading this has a great day. From user Rodolfo Teardrop. This happened far too long ago, but I saw something about my sister and remembered this. My middle sister was a pain in the butt. She used to try and beat me up and make me angry so she could blame her actions on me. This was the mid-70s, Jesus, and the R word was common usage. I never did like it though. MS loved it and used it every chance she got. It was her go-to for scorn and insults. Side note, she wasn't that bright. Once she had to go someplace new, she was afraid she'd get lost. We assured her if she got lost, we would call her. She felt better about it. So after a month or 3 of the R word, my oldest sister and I got fed up. We sat down with a bunch of paper and started making signs, like 30 of them. Then we placed them all over the house. They were along the lines of, "Take an R word to lunch. Have you hugged your R word today? R words are people too." We placed them everywhere we could think. Under the toilet seat, inside the medicine chest, in her clothes drawer, on the ceiling above her bed, under the pillow. We looked places that would take a few days to find. We always knew she'd found one because she let out the most lovely howl of "Mom!" after each one. Talking to my mom a long time after, she said she felt so torn as to how to handle it. On the one hand, she couldn't let us just get away with it, but on the other, she was tired of hearing it, and said she almost broke up laughing when the time came to talk to us about it. And she never called us R words again. And our final story today comes from Theorist Drainy. Due to COVID, students in my school have to eat outside for lunch. We used to not be allowed to, due to the ridiculously small amount of benches. You need to save a spot if you want to not sit on the ground. I have a very nice bench that I put my backpack on, and then went to get my lunch. When I came back, a senior couple had moved my damn backpack and were sitting on the bench together. I have had problems with these two before, but they've never just moved my backpack. It seems like we've both laid claim to that bench, so if I've gotten my lunch and saw that they were already sitting there, I would just walk off and sit on the grass. But today I honestly wasn't in the mood, and they had moved my backpack after I put it there. I knew this bench well, so I knew it was about 5 feet long, and this senior couple, who were from different households, were sitting right next to each other without masks on. You know, breaking common COVID rules. So I told my lunch monitor, "Petty, but I put my damn backpack there, so it's my bench for the lunch period. Anyways, I'm pretty sure they'll have detention for the rest of this week, so I'm 100% going to take advantage of that." And that was r/Pettyrevenge. Make sure to leave a like on this video as it helps me out a lot. And also make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on that little notification bell. That way you never miss any of my future uploads.